It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
So yeah, our first deal, right? All right, so perfect transition, right? So we were getting all this knowledge, right? We were in the car driving, listening to podcasts, right? And we would get like drops of information, right? And it would be like, you know, from listening to one podcast, you're not gonna get, or even reading one book, you're not gonna get everything that's gonna be able to get you to where you want to go, right? But you got to start somewhere, right? So we started learning these like key pieces of information, right? I mean, even though we had good paying jobs, we still have student debt, right? We still have student debt. We still have bills, right? This is our first time, you know, supporting an entire place. We had our own apartment at the time. Had a new car, had like, responsibility, right? Bills. So like, we still couldn't find a way to like save as much money as like what we would need for like a down payment, right? Or at least that's what we thought at the time. So I was like, what can we do? What can we do that's free, right? It doesn't cost anything, right? So we found out that we could reach out to a realtor and we could start getting deals, right? They go sign us up for MLS search, right? A query, they go in, they set up the criteria, what you're looking for, multifamily, this zip code, blah, 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 right? You tell them what you want. And then they'll set up that screener and they'll send you, properties as they come on market, right? So that was free. That didn't require any cash out of our pocket, right? I mean, they wouldn't take us out to actually go see the properties, but at least we could like see the properties, right? We were in the game. So from there, we just started analyzing deals. It started out slow, right? It was like, we would analyze maybe like 3 deals a week. You know what I mean? Like it started off kind of slow, like, but then we kind of picked it up over time. The next thing we did was, all right, again, don't have much cash right now. What can we do? So it was, hey, we can reach out to a banker and we can find out if we do have enough cash. I mean, I didn't know exactly how much you needed. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was like, we might as well go. It's not gonna cost anything. We might as well go the next step and then we'll figure it out when we get there. I mean, so did that, reached out to a banker. They said, oh, well, you got to do this and this to get your credit right. I had horrible credit because I made horrible decisions with credit cards when I was in college, like everybody or most people, right? So I had to fix my credit. We started paying down like, bills, past due parking tickets, like all the other stuff that comes along with living life. From there we got to a point that, okay, we had the credit. After that, it was trying to figure out down payment. So I guess you want to tell that story about FHA and all that?
Yeah, so once we figured out about the down payment and figured out that, okay, this is our first time buying a house, and like talking to our lender, that's when we learned about like, oh, grants. So we're like, oh, grants? What is that? So we're there and told us that it's free money that you can pretty much get. And also if you attend classes, that's how it can help you qualify, like once you get your credit score right and things like that. And so we did that. It was like 8 hours worth of courses. It was 2 Thursday evenings that we had to go to. And so after work, our super long commutes, we go and we do these classes and we learned a lot of information about like, things like what to look for, like the importance of, getting a homeowner's inspection, the importance of homeowner's insurance, the importance of all these different things. And then, come to find out, okay, 3.5% down off the purchase price, so that helped out a lot. And then
that was a game changer. 3.5%. So like, $100,000 a house, $100,000 house, you're talking about $3,500.
Wow.
Right. You're gonna have other costs in there, like the inspection, like $250. The appraisal, those are a couple hundred, maybe like another $300. But it was manageable, right? So that was. I was thinking 20% down, 20% of 100K is going to be around $20,000, right? Yeah, $20,000. Like, still got student loans. We still got student loans today, but, I mean, the interest rate is manageable right now. I mean, single digits and it's low.
So it's a little more comfortable.
Yeah, we're going to invest that money, where we get a higher return. But, at the time, we still had it. So, once we found out that, okay, we can get access to these listings, we can start vetting deals, we can get access to this funding, we only need 3.5% down. All right, cool, let's start looking at properties. You ready? Right, we got our pre-approval letter, we handed our pre-approval letter proudly to our agent. Let's go, we was ready. So we started looking at properties. We started doing walkthroughs, right? Boots on the ground, right in it, which is the best way to go starting out, because you want to make sure, like, we wanted to make sure that we knew a little, but we knew we didn't know a lot. Like, there was a lot that we didn't know, right? So, you know, sometimes that can be a dangerous place, and there's always uncertainty. There's always an anxiety I get when I close on any deal, right? Just because you never know the future, even though, you know, everything looks right on paper, real life happens, especially if you do like significant rehabs like we do. But, you know, so it was, you know, the anxiety was there, right? And the anxiety was there throughout the whole process, right? But, you know, we started putting these pieces together, started getting out, looking at properties, had our inspector, you know, a few times. The inspector was expensive. It was like, you know, $200, $250, like an inspection, right? But it's worth the money, because when you walk, you know, if you buy a bad deal, it's going to cost you way more than $200. So you want to know exactly what you're getting into, especially if you have no experience, and you know what I mean? If you don't know what a raptor is, if you don't know, if you just don't even, if you start in real estate and you really trying to do it big, you got to go these routes. Don't take shortcuts. You know what I mean? Right. Especially early on. That's one thing I learned. If you take shortcuts, it's going to cost you. You're going to have to pay. It's going to be more difficult later on. Just handle it at the front, and, you know, you can keep pushing through, right? Because along the way, there were always obstacles. Like, there's always obstacles, right? But you just got to figure out a solution to the problem, and then move on to the next, right? And then you learn and you grow, and over time, you'll get better. But yeah, so that's how we really started, and then eventually we found the property. It was
after
a 3-unit.
We looked at probably like 10.
Yeah, 10 properties that we was on around to go see.
Yeah.
But we ran a deal on literally probably like 55 houses. Yeah. Right, 55 multifamilies. Like, so it was literally like, you know, we were comfortable. We knew what a good deal looked like at this point, right? So it was a 3-unit multifamily. It was fully rented out. It was occupied by one tenant, which was kind of risky. Because, you know, it's one person paying everything, right, instead of 3. So, but it was a assisted living facility. So the assisted living facility, I think it was paying, how much was it paying? 33? Yeah, I think like $3,300. And I think she had put a sizable down payment down, right? So this is another trick, or another like tip or whatever, or information, whatever. So whenever you buy a property that currently has tenants, right? Typically, those tenants have to put security deposits down, right? So the landlord is supposed to escrow that money, right? So that money is really the tenant's money. Is just, you know, put on hold. So anytime a seller sells a property, make sure whenever you go to closing that you collect those security deposits that were a part of, you know, the leases for your new tenant. So, you know, that again decreased our overall cash that we had to bring to the table. So, you know, we bought it for $150. It was bringing in like $3,300 a month. I think the note was around $1,300, $1,400. So it was a decent spread in there. Wow. You know, it was FHA, so we had to move in one unit, right? So we knew the plan was that eventually we would have to, you know, scale them down and get into one unit, right? So fast forward, you know, we go to closing, you know, we're nervous as all ever. And like literally, you know, we walk out, I remember we signed the paperwork, and it was surreal. We both signed, walked out. And like, it was like, oh, okay, all right. So now what? Like, we own this property. Like, hey, it was cool. We signed it, you know, taking the pic, cool. But now, like, oh, all right, it's really real now.
Are you looking for a community of like-minded individuals and access to experts in real estate? Yeah. Are you interested in real estate but need more support and guidance? You know who it is. The Black Real Estate Dialogue presents the Real Estate Investing Community. No matter how much or how little real estate experience you have, we've created a community for you because your perspective is important. All right, tell me, where's the #1 place where you can do Q&A with experienced guest speakers 2 times per month? How about unlimited access to past guest speakers' recordings? What about a private Slack channel to engage in daily discussion with everybody in the community to share resources and support each other? Head on over to blackrealestatedialogue.com. That's blackrealestatedialogue.com. It's the real estate investing community presented by the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Come join us today.
Can you talk about that that first purchase, like what that experience was like, just being, new to investing out of state. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I think we can talk a little bit about our strategy. Yeah, and we actually don't talk about this a whole lot. But what we did was we paid off our condo. Okay, so and over time the condo had gained a lot of equity. That was our money. Okay, so the house was now worth close to $250,000. And we were just living up in it. And so we took out a home equity line of credit for the by accessing the equity in the condo, and that is what we use to essentially purchase our first property in cash. So when I say we purchased it in cash, that means there was no expense from us. I didn't have to go into my bank account to pay for a thing. Okay, so we tapped into our own equity. We became our own bank. And that is what we used to purchase our first property. And so our first property was in North Carolina. And a lot of people say, well, why North Carolina? Yeah. And I like to just say, have you seen the movie Coming to America? What was this? Hakeem
when he spun the globe.
Was that his name? Anyway, he spun the globe, yeah, to see where he was going to go to find his queen to be, and they landed on Queens, and so that's where he went. So for us, we had a friend who lived in Tennessee, so we were looking in Tennessee, like we knew someone who lived there. Must be good enough place to live. Right. Then they moved to North Carolina, and then we said, well, let's just start looking at North Carolina. He lives in North Carolina, says it's a good place. So it wasn't, too scientific, right. But there are certain things that we look for in an area. Right. We don't just invest in any area. We do research on the area. We look at, like employment. We definitely look at the property taxes because some states have incredibly high property taxes. So we want to minimize expenses. We want to invest in a community that is thriving, that is growing, that is, if it's not in a major city, maybe it's in close proximity to a major city so that people might live there and might commute to the major city for work. And so, so we landed in North Carolina. We used the HELOC strategy to finance it. And you want to share a little bit more?
Yeah, I think looking back on it, there were some pluses that we saw in financing the property, just buying it out cash. We thought that there was going to be maybe a little more negotiating power with being able to not have to finance, and maybe we can kind of talk them down. And that we did experience that. We did get the house a little below asking. Some individuals may have, opted to take a portion of the HELOC and finance the rest, which is what we did for our second property. But for our first property, we were getting our feet wet, and we thought, let's just buy this thing outright cash. Mm-hmm. But I think the key is to make sure that your calculations are right and that you're getting a return, because the goal is to not get into more debt. And while this is debt, if you can get the numbers so that your tenant is paying you back and you're cash flowing after that,
you have to cash flow.
Exactly. And so I think that was key for us, was just understanding how to calculate our return on investment, how to find a good, investment, and something that would cash flow in the end and would pay for itself. And so we were able to do that. And once we were able to do that, we would just pull the trigger, Sam, and was like, let's just do this. Let's just do it.
Right. And it's really like when you are dealing with cash, like there's not a lot of paperwork. We signed like 2 papers at a law office. And that, so the transaction is very simple. I think what Marcus was sharing earlier is key, that you have to find a good real estate agent, someone that is just hungry. They have to be just as hungry as you, because Marcus interviewed a lot of different real estate agents. Some folks were not returning his calls. They were questioning him. They didn't want to take him seriously. Who was his brother calling me from another state? Maybe some folks could be salty to investors that are coming into their state, so it took some time to find the right person. Right. And when we found the right person, it made the process a lot easier. He would walk through properties and have us on a video call and take us through each of the rooms, because we couldn't physically be there. And so just kind of backtracking, building your team is so important. And then the experience is really a positive experience.
Very positive experience.
Awesome. What type of questions? So a lot of people that's something they think about, just real estate agents. How do I know I'm with the right one? Like, what are, I guess, a couple of questions that you ask just to kind of get a feel of if this person is right for what it is you're looking for?
Right. I'll take piece of it, but before our advice before you start calling up real estate agents is make sure you got your stuff together. Yeah. Okay. When you have your stuff together, then you can see if they got their stuff together. Right. And when I say make sure you got your stuff together, that means you need to have some money. Look, if you don't have no money, then people are not going to want to deal with you. So having money can look at certain ways. It could look like a pre-qualification letter for a home loan. So if you know that you have to finance a property, you go apply for that financing. Don't just be calling people and wasting people's time. Like, get your stuff together. Okay, get your financing, get your HELOC or whatever. If you're going to be investing with a sibling or you got a couple of folks, y'all just trying it out. Get your money together, get your financing together, and then you can move to the next step, which is talking to a real estate agent or realtor.
Hi everyone, Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Make sure to hit that notification bell and that subscribe button and to visit us at blackrealestatedialogue.com.